The sun beat down on the alien desert, casting long shadows over the shifting sands. Out in the wasteland, where the inhabitants had long since learned to survive through the harshest conditions, a figure stood alone. Her skin, the color of storm clouds, seemed to absorb the heat of the sun like an ancient stone. Her long silver hair whipped in the dry winds, and her eyes, striking predatory, surveyed the horizon. Azriya was not like the others of her kind. Her people, the Yirthari, were a proud, noble race of warriors. Tall, powerful, and born to endure the trials of their world, they had always valued strength, discipline, and honor. But Azriya had never fit into that mold. She was wild, untamed, a force of nature who scoffed at their rules, their customs, their rigid expectations. She had once been a prized fighter, feared and respected. But that was before her defiance became a problem. Azriya had fought the wrong duels, challenged the wrong leaders, and broken too many sacred traditions. Her strength was unrivaled, but her behavior was uncontrollable, and the council had deemed her too dangerous for their society. So they cast her out. Her exile took her across the stars, wandering through the forgotten corners of the universe. She roamed from planet to planet, finding work as a mercenary, a bounty hunter, anything that would keep her alive. But her heart, though fierce, remained heavy with the weight of her people's rejection. She had been too wild for them, and she had never once cared. But there was a part of her, buried deep within, that longed for something more than endless bloodshed and solitude. One day, Azriya found herself on a small, desolate planet in the outer rim. It was a place where only the most desperate of people went, a planet that had been ravaged by war and poverty. The people here were survivors, broken, beaten, but not yet defeated. There was an undercurrent of rebellion in the air, a quiet yearning for change. It was here that she first met him. His name was Marcus Cole, a human. He was unlike any man she had ever encountered, calm, steady, and resolute in a way that made her feel both intrigued and irritated. His presence was like a rock in the midst of a storm, unyielding and unmoved. Azriya had seen enough men to recognize that he wasn't like the others who tried to dominate her with brute force. Marcus didn't seem afraid of her strength. In fact, it was almost as if he respected it. At first she dismissed him. He was just another human, weak, fragile, and bound by his own limits. What could he offer her? What could he possibly understand about the raw fury that burned inside her? But when she took a job to protect a small group of refugees from a local warlord, Marcus was there, offering his assistance. She had been skeptical, but his insistence intrigued her. He wasn't a fighter, not in the way she was, but he had a quiet determination that made Azriya pause. They worked together, and she soon realized that he wasn't just some naive fool. Marcus had a mind for strategy and a heart full of compassion. He fought for the weak, the oppressed, those who could not fight for themselves. It was an ideal that Azriya, with all her rage and bitterness, had long forgotten. Over time their partnership deepened. Azriya would never admit it aloud, but she began to respect Marcus, perhaps even more than she respected herself. Where she was impulsive, he was patient. Where she was brutal, he was measured. They balanced each other in a way that she hadn't thought possible. Yet, despite her growing feelings, Azriya kept her distance. She was still the untamable force she had always been, and she had no intention of allowing anyone, especially a human, to tame her. She was wild, and she would stay that way. But Marcus saw something in her. He saw the strength in her, the fire that had been neglected, the honor that she had lost but not forgotten. One night, after a particularly harrowing battle, he took her aside. "You're not as broken as you think, Azriya," he said quietly. his voice firm yet gentle. "You're not beyond redemption." Azriya glared at him, her silver eyes flashing with defiance. "I don't need redemption." Marcus didn't flinch. "Maybe not. But you don't have to be alone anymore." For a moment, Azriya looked away, unwilling to face the vulnerability in his words. Her chest tightened, a feeling she couldn't name threatening to rise within her. She had spent so many years pretending that she didn't care, that she didn't need anyone, that she had nothing left to lose. But Marcus didn't let her push him away. He stood by her always. And when she finally allowed herself to lower her guard, she saw something she hadn't expected. A man who saw her as more than just a weapon, more than just a wild thing to be tamed. He didn't want to break her. He wanted to stand beside her. Their relationship was far from easy. Azriya struggled with the pull between her nature and her feelings for Marcus. Every time she let herself get close, a deep fear would rise in her. What if she lost herself again? What if she became weak? What if Marcus would grow tired of her, of the storms inside her that she couldn't control? But Marcus never wavered. He never asked her to change. He never asked her to kneel. Until one fateful day, the warlord she had fought against all those months ago returned in full force, bringing an army to the planet. The refugees she had protected, the people she had come to care for, were in danger once again. Azriya knew what had to be done. She gathered her weapons and prepared for the inevitable battle. But Marcus, as always, stood by her side, ready to fight for the people he had come to love, to protect the ones who had no one else. And in that moment, Azriya understood. She had fought so long against the world, against herself, against the notion that she needed anyone. But here, with Marcus beside her, she realized that it wasn't weakness to lean on him. It was strength. The battle was fierce. Azriya fought with a fury that no one could match, cutting down enemies left and right. Her movements like poetry in motion. But it was Marcus, steady and unflinching, who held the line. And when the warlord himself came charging at them, it was Marcus who made the final blow, saving them all. When it was over and the dust had settled, Azriya stood over the battlefield, breathing heavily, her heart racing. Marcus approached her slowly, his expression unreadable. "You fought well," he said. Azriya said nothing at first. She had expected to feel triumph, to feel the rush of victory. But what she felt was something softer, something that made her stomach twist. Marcus stepped closer, his voice quiet but firm. "You don't have to do this alone anymore. You don't have to fight the world on your own." Azriya looked at him, her chest tightening. I don't know how to be anything other than what I've always been." Marcus smiled gently. "You don't have to change, Azriya. You just need to let yourself be." She looked down at her hands, covered in blood, the mark of a warrior. But beneath that she felt something else, something tender, something new. And for the first time in years she didn't feel alone. Azriya knelt. Not because Marcus demanded it, but because for the first time she chose to kneel, out of trust, out of respect, and out of love. In that moment, she was no longer the wild, untamable force she had once been. She was something more, a woman, a warrior, and a partner. And she would kneel,